Ever wonder how a spin trainer pivoted their entire business online in just 10 days during COVID and turned it into a global leadership powerhouse? In this Unbarred's Conversation episode, join me, your emeritus case coach with 20 plus years and 180 plus podium finishes as Tash Marshall-Bean drops raw, no BS tips on building killer leadership, confidence, mastering adaptability skills, and ditching demotivating language like don't stop for game-changing clues that ignite team ripple effects. Perfect for business students and young pros ready to level up their critical thinking and communication for real-world wins. Unlock your mad skills now.
I'm like, where should I start? I'm super excited, Cam, that you invited me on, obviously. You know, we had a little chat before, and I'm just so excited to hang out with you. So, my name is Tash Marshall-Bean, as Cam said. I created a company called Authentic Instructor Training. I kind of started, I've actually, in last month, I've been doing it for 10 years. So, I've been out on my own in the boutique fitness world for 10 years. And yeah, it's super exciting. So, what I do is I train spin instructors, but in doing that, we kind of build their confidence, build their leadership skills. So it's all about learning to how to teach a spin class, but within the course, I have so many things wrapped in it and building confidence, all the things that when I was becoming an instructor, I was like, I don't know, how do I do this? How do I create this big voice for moments of intensity and all that? And then I'm realizing as I was talking about this, I was like, I'm talking about myself. So I would say personally, what I'm about is the ripple effect. Literally, I'm all about the ripple effect. I empower humans to motivate and inspire others. That's the bigger picture of what I do. That's what lights me up and gets me out of bed every morning.
I think that's the piece that I think when I first met you, even though it was virtual, that really connected because that's the type of thing I've been trying to do with students for the last 20 or 25 years with the case teams is how do I get them to come out of their shell, be confident
Yes.
individuals that have skills where they can communicate, they can show that they're confident in terms of their answer, they can make decisions, those types of things. So I think that's the
Yeah.
piece that connected. And when we talked about your company and how you work with instructors, I think that's where the connections made. And I think what really impressed me was when COVID came along, you took that and transitioned to Zoom within sort of 10 days of the
Literally 10
restrictions.
days. 10
Yeah.
days.
And I'm just wondering in terms of where did that idea come from and sort of how did that sort of shift online sort of come from? How's it influenced you? And
So
talk about maybe
crazy.
some of the lessons learned going along the way. And I think we talked about some of these before we started the recording. And I think one of the big things is I think, and we're both used to this, is this technology, it's great, but it does fail sometimes. And just sort of being able to sort of, yeah, it failed. What am I going to do? How do we solve that problem? So I'll let you,
Well, and also that comes back to when you're teaching classes, adaptability. You have to be adaptable. Even when we first started, Cam, I think you froze for a tiny bit there. And I was like, here we go. And anyway, you ended up coming back, but, or maybe I froze. But at the end of the day, what was interesting about the pandemic was I also teach this. I teach Legree, which is a kind of amped up Pilates form class style. And we got on Zoom. Literally, I had never even heard of Zoom. I was like, I don't even know what Zoom is. But logged in, got on there. I was like, oh my God, everyone's on my screen. And we're all trying to figure out how to solve, how do we keep our clients, just all the things, right? I can't remember if we'd officially shut down. Maybe we were right about to shut down. But I'm looking at, I don't know, 15 people on the screen. And all of a sudden, in my head, I'm like, I can teach people on here. For sure, I can train people on here. That's what I was thinking about. And so within 10 days, and also, so when we talk about lessons, I asked a bunch of people, a bunch of friends, I was like, what would you think if I, deliver this online and we're training to the beat? So it's indoor cycling, but it's also to the beat. And I was like, okay, we wouldn't be on Zoom while we're training because at the end of the day, everybody would have a different beat and it might screw them up. So I have tons of videos recorded because I was coming up to 50. So I was like, oh my gosh, I better be still saying what I'm doing, like saying chest lifted and I'm not down like this. So I had been videoing myself. And I was like, oh my God, I'll cut up the videos and then we'll talk. So here's what a climb feels like. Boom, 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 boom. All right, everyone, stand up. And then we'll like boom with the hands. And then what we do is get them to apply it to the bike after. So
Oh,
literally, I was like, and I literally was building it out as I was going on the first one. I have a video of myself that Charlie had caught from people appearing on the screen. And I was just like, oh my God, like I've always been so excited about Zoom because I'm 54 years old and I'm from an era where we didn't have this. You couldn't just hop on a FaceTime and find like Irish Ryan. Here's a good story, Cam. I was meeting Irish Ryan, Santorini, June 1st, 1994. Okay. I get there. I'm like, all right, where's Irish Ryan? I didn't know there was more than one city. So we never found each other in 10 days. I left. I was like, screw him. I'm out of here. He sent a postcard home and was like, where the hell are you? But you couldn't hop on a FaceTime or anything. There was no Facebook. There was nothing. So I love this modality. But I think when it goes back to the biggest lesson is when people tell you you can't do it, because that happened, that was like, you can't do that, nobody will buy that, nobody'll, you just like, if anything, it makes me mad and makes me do it more. And so not only did we take this business online, it's literally been the thing that sustained us, especially when the studio shut down. And we just finished training probably 6 months, maybe even a year, a studio in Perth, Australia, online.
no,
And we're making better instructors because we take 6 weeks. So I love it.
I love that too. I know during the pandemic, at that point, my oldest daughter was the manager of the Suncor gym, and they were making big inroads in terms of their membership. And again, she went online in order to sort of offer at least a day a week or a couple days a week where they could get together. And I know there were lots of questions that she had for me because I had gone online a little bit earlier. And over my coaching career, so going back into the probably early 2010s, I've been
Yeah.
using this technology to communicate with my teams back home when I've been across the world. This
Which is
technology
so
is
amazing.
this we
Wow.
have today is so much better. There's no comparison to what it was because it was it was hit and miss. And my favorite actually was, I think, just before COVID. I can't remember if it was the year before or the year that COVID happened because I was in Washington D.C. and it must have been the year before COVID happened. Just thinking of the hotels we were in, and I have, so that happens at the beginning of February, that competition. So I'm in Washington, D.C., but I have two teams training in Calgary for competitions like a week and a half later. And so it was my engineering commerce team that I got together on. I can't remember what technology, but it was a freaking disaster in terms of technology. The internet in the hotel totally sucked. And the scary part is the hotel is on campus about 100 meters away from the business building.
Wow.
And had I done this in the business building, I don't think I would have had problems with the internet. The only problem, it was raining like incredible amounts. So that walk from the hotel, yeah, no, I'm not doing that walk. Right? I think I eventually got on the phone to do something of a feedback session with them because we did the presentation over whatever technology we were using. I think it was Skype, and as I say, it was horrendous. I caught about, I don't know, maybe a third of their presentations.
Poor kids.
The
They'd be like,
feedback wasn't great, but they went on. We did survive, and they went on to
yeah,
be successful. I think they wound up in second place at the competition, so it didn't
amazing.
hinder us a lot, but
Yeah.
there was definitely some hindering.
That's unreal. I love that
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah. So, and I think just in terms of, I guess, doing this on Zoom, what are the
Yeah.
things that you've noticed that really sort of make those connections? Because I think this is something I have problems with students. Is students don't know how to act in a virtual environment. And
It's
post COVID, they
crazy.
have problems both in person but there's a
I
lot of
know.
things. So one of the things I used to do is a case course where we did 3 days in person. So those were the first 3 days. And then we went online for 2 days. And part of the online part was they're going to have to do this. This is part of what
Yeah.
they're going to do in terms of their work. And the first day when they did presentations, a lot of the presentation, the feedback wasn't about the presentation. It was about the fact that they should probably sit on their camera and we should be able to see some body language and part of your upper body, and your eyes aren't your eyes aren't just peering over the bottom of the screen. So
My
actually taking a
God.
look at what you look like on camera
Yeah.
and sort of doing something a little bit with the background, etc. That's why I've actually added to this our Calgary location a little
I
bit
think
in the
that's a can of
background.
glue. Is that glue behind you? That's
No,
the tall thing is
there's
glue.
bike cleaner. That's bike
The bike
cleaner.
cleaner. I should have that behind me too. I was like,
Yeah,
oh, I've
but
got
what?
pictures on my fridge.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
when I first sort of was testing it here, it was it's sort of this light blue color, and it was this blue wall that ran into a ceiling that was not much of a shade difference. So it was just, and it would catch sort of the back of the bike seat or something like that. So
Yeah.
it was just
Yeah.
not awful. But I'm just wondering
Yeah.
in terms of once you've made that decision and it's sort of you've progressed along, what are the types of things that you've learned that helps you make that connection with your audience? Because I think you do a really good job of that. And I know when we work together in the virtual environment with the students,
Yeah.
we seem to get pretty good connections with most of the students we talk to. So maybe talk about that
Oh,
a
that
little
was
bit.
so good when we did that together.
Yeah.
I think even when I'm talking about connecting with you right now, I keep looking this way because then I think, except for now, my eyes are going that way, but I'm like trying to connect, but I have no idea if it's the opposite. But anyway, who knows? But I think my biggest thing is showing up as you, whether you're in person or online, you're here. And I'm looking at you and I'm excited to see you. And like be yourself. But even online, I find in person is one thing. I find online for me facilitating is even a little bit more energy, right? A little bit bigger in my movements, and that's what I find works in keeping people engaged. But within my training, we're always saying I'm not talking at you. Like my biggest thing, which you saw because we did some advising together last week, which is amazing, but I was like, unmute, 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 cameras on. Like, I am insane because how are you going to connect with someone if your camera's off or you're muted? And I have this whole theory, which I did tell Cam last week. I feel like what we've taught people is to come to meetings and shut up. No, absolutely not. Unmute. Let's have a conversation. Now, I understand I don't work with 300 people, and I know that, and also if people are driving, like there's all the usual things. Like if you're driving, your kid's screaming, just mute for a bit, get it all under control, come back to us. Like just being present, right?
Yeah, no, and I think that's true. And I think that's what's lacking so much. So,
Yeah.
and I really noticed a difference. I did one of the NT 201s late in November and then those
Yeah.
sessions we did last week. And there was so much difference between the two classes. And I think
Yeah.
part of that is the instructor, whoever it is, on I
Yeah.
guess it was the Wednesday class, has done a really fantastic job of getting these students to show up to their
Yeah.
class. And I think that's
Yeah.
one of the big things. And I think that's one of the things I demand out of students a lot is show
Yes.
up. And
Yeah.
it's really,
But teach them what that means. Like, 'cause
yes,
when we say we need you to show up, what does that actually mean? And what are some ways I can do that? Because a lot of times we coach people, but we don't tell them how,
yeah, no. And I think
right?
that's a huge piece of it in terms of
Yeah.
with my case teams is you have to show up. They're there as a
Non-negotiable.
team. You have to work
Yeah.
together. You have to show up. You have to practice like you play when you do the
Yeah. Oh,
presentation. And then when we get into the debrief, you can't sit there silent, right?
no.
It's a conversation between all of us, right? Because
Yeah.
you may have to talk about a little bit of why you think that works, and I may tell you, well,
Yeah.
I don't think it
Ooh.
works, and how do we go about changing that? And having that conversation and having a discussion around generally what will happen is during the Q&A when I ask students questions, it's always sort of like there's a couple of questions there that they can tell from my expression that just didn't land at all, right? So have a discussion around how do we start to make that land? right? And a lot of it is about just adding the details. My favorite is Warby Parker. They got this yellow school bus that they have that they use for, or they used to use, I don't know if they still do. They used to use it for promotional events. And so most of the
Nice.
teams I did this case with in practice would always say, yeah, we'll keep the yellow school bus and we'll use it for promotional events. And my question was,
Brilliant.
how the heck are you going to use it? Right. And then a colleague of mine that I was coaching with was one of them. It was really interesting because his question was, how many school buses do you need? And they came out and said one, right? And I think he turned around and said, yeah, you're in LA, right? How are you going to deal with multiple promotional events with LA traffic?
Wow. I didn't think of that.
I think
Yeah.
his actual question is, have you ever been in LA traffic before?
Yeah.
And but I wanted to know sort of what's the customer going to do at this promotional event. So my going in, I sort of had this idea. Yeah, they go on the bus, they try on some frames, etc. Get a
Yeah.
little bit of advice from the people that are on the bus with them, and then they could walk out. They could have screens on the outside. They could order whatever they're ordering. And you know what? The glasses are in their post box when they arrive home,
Yeah.
type of.
Wow. What was it for? So it was getting on a bus, but it was for glasses?
Yeah, so they Warby Parker sells glasses, right?
Okay.
And so the idea was they can promote their glasses and their frames and do that
Yeah.
on the bus, and then
That's
they're
so
they're
unique.
they're a
That's
mail order
amazing.
company, and so why not allow them to also order those while they're there, right? You've got
Yeah.
them. Make the most of that interaction with the
See, that's
customer,
brilliant.
right?
That's brilliant.
That's the type of thing I was always looking for, and they sort of like, yeah, we're gonna promote it, and sort of I sit there and sort of like, yeah, how are you going to do that? And sort of, and that's what that discussion was really about. And I think that
Yeah.
actually ties in actually quite well in terms of your LinkedIn post this morning. You talked about
Yeah.
this idea of
Yeah.
the bad word of don't. And
Yeah.
maybe talk about that, and I can talk a little bit about the reaction I had. Maybe that's where we can
Not
go
only
with it.
that, it was awesome because I didn't say the word right away. So, because I also did it on anything I put on Instagram, I've been trying to repurpose it a little bit everywhere else. But it's like the one word holding back your classes. And a lot of this I talk about is for group exercise or fitness instructors, but it also translates to leadership, right? And coaching. So that's why I love how you instantly are right in there, like, yeah, and it makes me so happy. You and Rebecca, actually. But what I talked about is the one word that holds us back. So when we're coaching, so say I'm teaching a spin class and we're racing in the saddle with enough resistance, our legs are quick, and I want you to keep going. But what happens is instructors will say, don't stop, don't stop, don't stop. Well, what does that make me want to do? I won't say it here because we'll have to bleep it. So instead of saying don't stop, we say keep going. No, stay with me. You could say stay with it, but I want to make it personal. I want to make it to me. Stay with me. Or if I was team teaching with another instructor, stay with us. Right. And it's all about changing the language that we use, whether we're teaching to one person or 100 or 300. It's the language we use.
Yeah, no, and
So,
I really like that. And I think the big thing it got me to think about. So when I first started coaching, there's this too, and a lot of case coaches use it in terms of it's you talk about the things you're going
yeah.
to keep, you're going to talk
Yeah.
about the things you're going to stop doing, and you're going to talk about what you're going to add. And I always
Yeah.
sort of hated
Love that.
that the stop doing piece of it. So I
Yeah.
eliminated that part
Yeah.
and combined it into one
Keep an
thing.
ad.
So we always keep the idea of this is what we want to keep, but the other part of it is what we're going to change. And that includes how do we change the things that we don't want to be doing into
Yeah.
something that's a lot more valuable. So I think it just registered right away with me in terms of,
Yeah.
yeah.
But what I love is that you get it. And this goes back to last week. I was fortunate enough because I've been advising, thanks to Kim, the owner of Legree, brought me into this advising at U of C with our ENTI or 201s and 317. And it is the best. But Cam, I've never been able to go into the room with Cam. And to me, I have gone in rooms with other advisors and it's always been good. I don't really get many takeaways. I just kind of think, well, I might have said that differently or whatever. But Okay, so this is the Cam shout out because I realized this is why Cam is so successful in being a prof at everything that he's done or you've done is the way there were so many things, but it's the it's the little things like the don't stop that you got that right away. You're like, yeah, exactly. And this is what I do as well. Or even I did another article on feed forward instead of feedback because we're not going backwards. We're always moving forward. And that I believe was from a prof at U of Vic. Can't remember, but we'll look that up later. But Cam got that as well right away. And I think it's the way when we were in the rooms with the students, Cam is with the students. Sometimes in teacher positions, and I find this with training instructors when they are teachers, and I don't think anyone means to do this, and I don't want to say this in a mean way, but it's like you're talking down to students a little bit, but maybe you don't even realize it, or I'm hypersensitive, but Cam is with them. Like you're with them like I'm with them. Like we can do anything. You've got to consider these things. And yeah, it's just 100%. It's simple. I don't want to say it's simple, but it's just like little coaching bombs. Like you're like, yeah. And I'd write it down. I was like, here's another, just little things, right? But you
Yeah.
make everyone feel so good and you make us feel like you're on our side.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons for that, and I credit Larry Wood, who used to coach with me for the John Molson's MBA team, because I think he made me kind of realize this. So this was probably the last 10 or so years of my coaching, because I started coaching with him about 10 years ago, and then he
Yeah.
retired and that. But one of the things is that he always, with the brief session, we always struggled with that because his first sort of comment was, you got Larry and Cam, and neither of us know how to give sandwich feedback. Neither of us know actually how to give an open face sandwich feedback. Because a lot of it is about,
I don't love it.
yeah, but
I'm not good either.
yeah, but it's about giving them, because I think this is what a lot of the students want. They know what they're doing well, and we can talk about what
Yeah,
they're doing well.
exactly.
But
Yes.
the idea is we're there to make improvement,
Yeah.
right? And
Next
that's where
level.
we
Here's
want to
your next
focus.
level.
How do we get to the next level type of
Yeah.
idea with it? And I think that's one of the things that just sort of like connected with me on a big time in terms of we started to discuss this. And then we always look to bring a guest coach in that could be a little bit nice to the team.
Yeah.
Although, as I say, I don't think the teams reacted in terms of no, that's mean and berating or anything. Yeah, it's that you're there to help us improve step by
Yeah.
step or make these incremental steps, add tools to our tool belt as we go
Yeah.
along.
Yeah.
And I think that was the important piece of it. And sort of this whole idea is how do you build that relationship? And as I say, I think it got better as I coached more and more, because when I first started, I had no clue what the heck I was doing. I did have some good mentorship from a few people.
Yeah.
And I think the first mentor I had really taught me about content and that type of stuff. And then I wound up with mentors like Larry, who taught me more about how do we make the conversation that we're having real
Yeah.
and connecting with the students so
Yeah.
they can take something away and bring that back the next time
Yeah.
we practice. And I think his biggest thing is the idea of practicing like we play and bringing that
I
attitude,
love that. I
bringing
actually
that
meant to write that
attitude,
down. Yeah.
bringing that
Yeah. Because we
attitude
don't
into
play.
the right.
We don't play anymore as
Yeah.
adults. Like that's one of the things Charlie and I talked about. It's like we used to play all the time as kids. We'd go out and play and we go to play and then we don't play as adults. So how do we still go out and play? Like we're going for coffee, but we're playing, like we're just having fun. Again, it's like yeah, I call it like your magic moments or, just taking the time to have fun and connect and be there. Now, I am also the queen of ADHD. So, as much as I'm here, I'm like, oh, yeah, and I'm going to do this. Like, wow. But the one thing I did want to say from that conversation from you is a lot of it, as much as you did mentor with people, I believe that a lot of the coaching that you deliver is from your life experiences. And so, yes, you had mentorship, and I believe that that was pivotal, but I also believe it's fundamentally inside of you. Like, I don't want to say cheerleader. I would say that about me, but I mean, yay, Cam. But you want, So one of the things about me is I believe in everyone. And I always say it's because no one believed in my sister and I growing up. Like, absolutely not. We were on our own, fending for ourselves. And so as an adult, for me, it's so easy to believe in everyone. Because why is it so hard to believe in people? Right. So I kind of come in from, I already believe in what you're talking about. And I think at the same time, it's the feedback sandwich. I obviously was never good at it because I'm like, oh, you got this. Okay, so now here's our next level. We're going to go up here. Let's go, let's go. And then I forget to say, oh, yeah, you did this really well. And da da da. So I was like, oh, now I have trainers. I'm like, you go ahead and you could do all the coaching. I don't even call it feedback, feed forward, anything. I call it coaching tips.
Yeah. Yeah.
Coaching tips. And my master trainers are so good at doing the little sandwich. And I'm like, thank God.
Yeah, no, and I say I'm not good at the good part. I forget about it. But again, I think
Well,
part
because
of
you see the potential, you see where
yeah,
they can go. So I just like, let's go there now. Let's go. Next level. We got it.
yeah. And I think part of that is a real difference that I noticed in terms of those kids I coached and those kids in the classroom. There are some kids in
Yeah.
the classroom that do this, but a lot of it is those kids that I coach are there. They've got purpose. They've got this purpose that they
Yeah.
want to improve, they want to win.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even if we don't win, they want to be able to have learned and build skills and improve types of things. So
Yeah.
that's where all of this comes from. And I
Yes,
think in the
it does.
classroom, there are those students that are just there to give me the information so I can
Yeah.
memorize it, spout it out on the
Hmm.
exam. But the scary
They
part is
don't
it,
feel it.
yeah.
Like they don't feel it.
And the
They're
scary
just,
part in most of my classes is I didn't give exams. I
yeah,
rarely
perfect.
gave exams in any class. I think we did in our first year class, but that was about it. And
Yeah.
so I think part of that also was wound up being students self select in those senior classes and they self selected into that class. So I think my senior classes worked really well because I got those students that were looking,
Yeah.
how do I make improvement along the way? And
Yeah.
that's what I'm going to judge you on in terms of where
Yeah.
did you start, where do you end, type of
Yeah.
thing. And I'm really interested in this is where the end piece is, right?
Yeah.
How do we get you to that end piece or get you in better shape that you have a better skill set, right? You may
Yeah.
not have as much knowledge as maybe some of those other students that come out of other classes, but you know what? When you get that job, the company is going to deliver that knowledge to you. And because you have the
Exactly.
skills of how to
Yeah.
learn and how to critically
Yeah.
think and that, you're going to be ahead of
Yeah.
them anyways, right? That's going to be easy stuff to pick up as you go along, right? And I
I
think
also
that's a
think
piece.
it's what lights them up too. Like what lights them up. And if they're not, I don't want to say they're not resilient, but if they haven't been through any adversity or anything, like it's just like it's finding your why. That was one of the things you mentioned, like what lights, and for me, I do workshops on that. I was doing them with Community Futures on your core values, finding your why, imposter syndrome, and finding your why. There's a lot of people that don't know why they exist, right? And so you have to explore that. Like, why do I want to get out of bed? Am I getting out of bed going, the day is the worst, or am I jumping out of bed going, I'm going to change someone's life today? I'm going to try my hardest to have some impact in my day or someone else's day, right? And I think that the people you're getting want self-improve. I want to go to again, it goes back to going to our next level. It's the difference of people that want to show up and be a part of it.
Yeah, no, and I think
That's the difference.
yeah, no, it's huge that way, and figuring that out, figuring out who you want to be, and I think
I have to go get the dog. I'm
no
still
problem.
with you, but the
Yeah,
dog is staring at me. The
yeah,
Great Pyrenees mix. He's like, boop, boop. Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that that's the biggest difference. I really do. I think that's the biggest difference.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a huge piece. And I think how do we get that into more people that are going to post secondary? Because I think that's what's missing. They're there to earn a grade. And I break
Yeah.
out the news in terms of, especially in the first year class, I would go in and there was two speeches I would make. First off, there's more
Yeah.
than classes at
Love it.
university and you're going to
Yeah.
learn more from the stuff that's not in class than you are going to learn
That's
from
so
class
good,
itself.
Cam. Yeah.
So get involved with student clubs, case competitions, whatever it is. Go find those other things that are going to actually enhance your resume, give you things to talk about in the interview rather than just,
Yeah.
this is what I learned in the classroom, because
Yeah.
the interviewer's not interested in that. They're interested in figuring out who you are. And I think early on, I think after I've got a few students that had graduated, etc., and I think one of them was this actually special student. She is absolutely incredible. She actually got one of the Haskane Alumni Awards a few years back. But I
Amazing.
would go to
Okay.
meetings. She worked for IBM at the time. And I would go to industry advisory meetings. And I think the CIO of IBM Canada was part of our advisory council. And the first discussion we had, every meeting we had, was we'd talk about Carol and how well she was doing at
Oh my God,
IBM.
amazing.
And then she's gone
Yeah.
on to do freaking amazing things. But I think one of the things with her was she was the epitome of that idea of, she knew what she wanted. She knew what the
Yeah.
why part of why she was here, why she was
Yeah.
doing this, why she came back and returned to help me coach teams later on, etc. And I think that was a big piece of, yeah, I've had, and a lot of those students were relatively early in my coaching career. And it
Yeah.
was just sort of like, yeah, this is amazing. This is absolutely amazing in terms of how we can take students that have a little bit of motivation and sort of know what some of the important things are in terms of their life and what they want to pull out of this university experience, right? Looks good. I'm just amazed.
Meet the 16 and a half-year-old cat. Hi,
Yeah.
Lola.
No,
So I think,
I'm
you know what I
amazed
think it
Dobby
is?
isn't here.
Oh my
He's what,
God.
13 and a half years old.
Is he? Oh, right. Your daughter's cat.
Yeah.
The thing I think we need to do is we need to, well, I don't know, maybe it's me of like, this is my next thing, is going into the school and going into these classes and trying to light them up. Like, what is your purpose? What makes you laugh really hard? What makes you cry in movies? Everything good there, Lola? Like stuff like that, like get them, because I feel like, remember how I said, like, we just want them to feel something. And it's like they're going through the motion. It's like, okay, I finished high school. The next thing is go to university. Check. What am I going to do? Well, first of all, I have no idea how anyone knows at the age of 18 or 19 what they're going to do with their life. That blows my mind. Right. But at the end of the day, you're just going through, that's what we have. We have the students that come on, they're not turning their cameras on. Because we now, when we're advising, we have two groups in one room. And I can literally see it. I know Cam sees this too. While the one team is talking, one person of one team, the rest of their team is mildly interested, still muted. And then the other team's not really interested. We don't want your cat butt on here, you know, and and that's where I'm like, this was one of the takeaways I got from you, is because I'm always like, everybody unmute, like, let's have a conversation, whether you're on one team or not. But Cam, I think your question was great. You had a question of, is there any questions from your team? Dead silence. Have to hold the silence for 4 seconds, right? At least, which I've
Yep.
learned. Thank you, Krista Major. And then you said, is there any questions from the other team? Which was so good, because now you can see, are they even interested? Are they paying attention? And a lot of times there wasn't. And it just goes back to teamwork. You're always
Yep.
going to have to work in a team. Like, be interested in each other, be interested in the other teams. There's always something that we gave coaching tips to maybe this team that you could take to your team. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
it
No.
just, like, it's like they, not all of them, but most of them need to be lit up.
Yeah.
Like, we need to go and light a fire under them. Like, it's not just going through the motions. Yes, I passed this class. Yes, I got a degree. The cat is
Yeah.
unreal right
Yeah.
now. Like, I can't know.
I think one of the things, and it was something I talked to Jim DeWalt about this a fair amount. We used to have one-on-one discussions with faculty members and the
Mm-hmm.
dean for a number of years while he was our dean. And
Yeah.
one of the things I always talked about him is that I'm always sort of disappointed when we win a competition. And part of it, what happens is, most of the competitions I went to were preliminary rounds and then final rounds. And so we would
Right.
make, most of my teams, especially internationally, would make final rounds. I think over half of the teams had made final rounds. And one of the things is, what gets missed when you make the final round is you don't get to see the other two or three or four best
Yeah.
teams that the judges pick.
Right.
right? And at
Yeah.
Haskayne, we had this knack of always picking number, like the last number out of the hat in terms of
Yeah.
like, and so, yeah, we just penalized ourselves a little bit more with that. But I think there's so much that those students can learn by watching others. And there were
Yeah.
competitions
Yes.
where organizers wouldn't allow teams to go and watch other teams at particular times. And those competitions I didn't go back to because I think
Yeah.
they're missing a huge learning element in terms of,
Yes.
yeah, I can go and watch what other people are doing. And I think it's highly valuable. In finals, yeah, it's not right where every team gets to watch every other team because you can start to pull ideas from what they did, right? But once you're done, right? So you should be able to
Exactly.
sit down and watch what everybody
Yeah.
else is doing. And I think hugely valuable in terms of it.
I think I think JDC or not JDC, because I did RBC Fast
Yeah.
Pitch. I've done it twice, and I've been the semi-finalist judge, which is so awesome because, well, it's when I want everyone to win, it's a little bit sad because you have to eliminate. But then in the afternoon, the final judges are out, and then a lot of them stay
Yeah.
and then watch, right?
Yeah.
And see, that to me makes such a difference.
Yeah. I was in Toronto one year and I think it was Ryerson at the time, so Toronto Metropolitan University,
Yeah.
and they had this leadership competition, and it was an ethical leadership competition, I believe. One of the year we always did quite well, and often we were in the finals. But one of the years we didn't make the finals, and one of the girls on the team disappeared during the finals. She didn't show up to watch the other teams, and I just sort of like we went outside after, and I just sort of gave her like, yeah, you missed this huge valuable learning opportunity.
Yeah, a huge
And
opportunity.
I
Yeah.
and if you're going to come and be on one of my other teams, I have to think about it because
Yeah.
I'm there to offer opportunities. And if you're just going to throw opportunities away,
Yeah.
I don't think that's
Oh,
good,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
She did come
Yeah.
back a couple of years later on one of my teams, and again, was very
So she
successful. But
probably learned her lesson. And at the end of the day, she probably took that lesson because a lot of these lessons are lessons for life. Like, again, it goes back to me training spin instructors, but it's really lessons in leadership. Like, remember the group we did last week, I was like, everybody needs to watch this podcast, Amy Cuddy, The Powerful Language, how your body language shapes you. And I had put it on there. I'm like, because it's not just about spin classes and being presenting and stuff like that. It's presenting exactly what they're doing.
yeah,
It works for everything, right? It's coaching leadership, it's coaching how to empower, how to feel more confident, right? In everything you do.
yeah, and I think this whole idea of modeling. So when I do my case course, every day there's a video that we discuss first thing in the morning, and sort of it's kind
Nice.
of that key moment. Amy Cuddy is one of those. But
Yeah.
the whole idea is here's some videos. I want you to watch it. And then we can talk about what are you going to take away? What I'm going to see this
Yes.
afternoon when you're going to do the presentation. And so one of the videos is Amy Cuddy. Another one is Malcolm Gladwell. He does a talk on TED about spaghetti sauce. He was actually there.
Okay.
He was
Okay.
supposed to be there to talk about his book, but he talked about spaghetti sauce. And it's a fantastic video about storytelling. And so
Okay. So I
that
need to
day
see
we
that.
talk about storytelling. And so how do you incorporate some of those? And then we've got and I can't remember, Benjamin Zander, I believe. He was a conductor in Boston, and he talks about classical
See, I need
music for 20 minutes and keeps the
really.
audience on the edge of their seats. And I've shown this in multiple classes. And generally when you show a video in class, they're doing other things. I think every time I've shown this, 5% of the class is just like they're focused on
Glued.
glued to this video of Benjamin
Okay.
Zander talking about classical music. And so that
Wow.
brings this discussion about engagement. What is he doing on a topic that probably most of you aren't that interested in?
Interested in, but he's captured them.
But as
Yeah.
I take a short video clip of you in the classroom, all of you are totally engaged on this guy.
That's
What's he doing
amazing.
to do that, right?
Yeah.
And just doing those types of things and sort of learning how do we start to model this behavior. And I think that
Yeah.
comes back to, as I say, the question I always ask, and I love this two group thing in the NT classes now.
Me too.
where like,
Yeah.
and I think we need to talk to them more about how do we get the other group. We need time for the other group to sort of pull some feedback from that, right? And I think that is hugely important. Yeah,
Said. Like, well, it's real life. Like, you decide to
that's
eat now, Wesley?
yeah,
And the cat. I'm
yeah,
like, well, this is my life.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about coaching.
I
So,
think the cat's down sleeping on the couch at the moment.
yeah, look at Wesley's even checking you out. He's like, who's that? I definitely want to see those videos. I also think the best part of you showing them the videos, and what I do as well, is I'll make them go, okay, I need 2 to 3 takeaways that you're bringing with you and share it to our group chat. And that's part of their homework, right? So that is an amazing one. There's another podcast. Oh my gosh, the guy that is talking about leadership and the All Blacks. He's like, what the fitness world can learn from the All Blacks, which is their rugby. Oh my God, it's so good.
I'll
And
have to.
I have the one on a fitness podcast, so it's a little bit, it's not the whole book or anything, but it's so good.
Yeah.
So I'll share that
No,
one with you.
no, and I love that fact that you're getting them to reflect on those 2 or 3 things. When I do classes, all my senior classes for the last probably close to 20 years,
Yeah.
one of their assignments, it used to be, and it wasn't as good. It used to be a learning log. And so I would only see it at the end of the term. But we got these blog
Learning
things.
log.
We got these blog things that, and so like sort of like the group chat. And
Yeah.
so they can now, they fill it out in sort of real time. And so I tell them, you know what? I'd like to see a weekly or a bi-weekly entry into it. And talk about what you're learning, how's that going to impact your life, and then they make a
Yeah.
summary one at the end in terms of what they're going to take away,
Nice.
what do they think they're going to take away in real life. But this idea of the blog really works really well, and we set it up on our learning management system, so I can go in every day and just sort of 2 or 3 students have written something, I can write them
Yeah.
back, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's generally not a lot I write back, but I can write them back just to sort of, I'm connecting with you, I think is the first piece of
Yeah.
that. But I think the other piece of it is in so many classrooms, people go in, the professor goes in, here's the plan, we're going to
Yeah.
follow through on this plan. Often it's not checked on. And if they do check on it, about halfway through the term, so 6 weeks in, they're doing a bit of a survey and trying to figure out what's working, what's not working.
Yeah.
Generally, I don't
Forget the plan.
I don't get a lot of blog entries in the first week. They
Yeah.
start showing up kind of the end of the second week. But I'm getting feedback right away in terms of, you know what, that worked.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
that didn't work whatsoever. So I can then go back and revisit that. Well, the concept or whatever we were doing in class is fresh in their mind. And I can go in
Yeah.
and say, you know what, this didn't work for some people. That's the feedback I've got. So
Yeah.
let's try it a different way. And it's been such a valuable thing. And then the other piece of it, and I think this is a huge piece, is just reflection.
Yeah.
Students don't know how to reflect
Yeah.
whatsoever. And I think it's a huge skill. If you look at successful people, they put their plan together, they put their goals together, they reflect on those goals, right?
Yeah.
The funny story is Jason was a student. I probably taught him in about 5 or 6 different classes. And I had the learning blog in probably 90% of those classes. I think one of the classes was a first year class. So it's just too big to do this.
Yeah.
But
I love the learning blog.
Yeah.
I love it. I wrote it down.
Yeah.
That's so good.
And so he bitterly complained about having to do this. And then he went into industry. And I think he discovered that some of the things he learned in his blog were things that he was able to put into his a yearly assessment. And it was related to how much money he made. So that was, I think, the first connection. But the greatest thing was he went back and did his MBA, and I was on sabbatical. And I recommended him to take over one of my classes. And I told him, here's the course outline. Do whatever you want with it. Like, keep the things you want. I think the only thing he kept was the thing he complained most about, which was the learning blog.
I was like,
I think he threw most of the other stuff out, but he kept that, and I just sort of like, that's definitely a career highlight that I got Jason when he came back to teach to do the thing to his
Oh,
students
yeah.
that he hated the most doing.
See, my question, okay, so my question about that, I wrote down two things. Sometimes, because what I'll do in the 6 weeks, or what I get the trainers to do now, is like, I'm not giving them a whole outline. In week one, we're doing this. In week two, I'm like, I'm not. Because most of the people are A type. So the thing is, when you're going to teach a fitness class, you need to be adaptable. Somebody could be almost fainting. Somebody could be like, there's so many things that can happen in one class that you need to be able to be even writing in your manual. Like, where do I write this down? Find a spot. Like, I literally do a little bit of like, not screw them up, but F them up. Like, I do. And it's one of the things I hear, well, I wish we would have had a little bit. And I was like, I do it on purpose because then they come in, they're like, okay, well, I know what week two is about already. And it's like, our curriculum is always the same, but we don't tell them. Like, they need to be ready for anything. So I don't know if that is something that would sometimes shake it up a bit,
I
right?
think,
If we give them all the outline and it's like, you got to be adaptable.
yeah. No, and I
I
think
don't know.
even when I've got, so rules at the university is the assignment dates, once you give them the dates, they don't change, right? But other things, I think I've been pretty flexible in terms of
Yeah.
what's happening. Not, especially in the winter, I had to plan around facts that, and I think this was a big piece of it is for some reason, I got to teach a class on Monday afternoon pretty well the latter part of my career. And that was my winter class. That was the only class I taught in the winter. And so I was always away with teams, and we'd fly back generally on Sunday,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes on JDC West, we'd fly back on Monday, and some
Right.
other competitions were Monday. And I was said that, you know what, things happen. It's winter time, there's snow, there's ice.
Oh, yeah.
And so,
Adaptable. Yeah.
yeah,
You may not
so
get
this is
back.
the plan. I may not be there, right?
Yeah.
I'll let you know if I can that I'm not going to be there. And so there was always sort of this adaptability in terms of what that plan
Yeah.
was. But I think with the teams, it was always that. I didn't know, I knew what the first case I was going to give them of the year. After
Yeah.
that, I had no idea, right? I had
Yeah.
a bit of an idea in terms of sort of the topic, the case topics I want to hit. But a lot of it was, we did this case. Where do I think you are? Where do we go with the next one? Right.
Yeah. I
And it
love
was
that.
always this sort of thing when I was actually coaching some of my alumni coaches all the time. And they were sort of like, do you have a case or an outline of cases that you're going to give throughout the year? And I say, no, I don't think I've ever done that. And
Yeah.
I know what one I'm going to give them first. And the first one is
And then after
general.
that.
Yeah, and the first one is
Yeah.
generally fairly easy because I don't care what content they're going to deliver. I really more care about how they're working together in the room. And part of it
Right.
is I'm going to give them cases initially that I'm going to monitor or talk about, and the debrief is going to be a lot more about how are you working together in the room rather than what content, what solution to deliver. We can do the solution delivery piece. That's the easy piece.
Yeah.
Once you know how to work together, we can kill those off really quickly, right?
Yeah.
But the first part is that struggle part in terms of how do we do that. So again, and I've had so JDC West, we'd usually run from the first week of September to just before the competition, which was just after New Year's. I think probably the second weekend of January in most cases. I had a team. I had a team that it was December
It's fine. You had a team, it was December. I'm
that
listening, Wesley.
they
Hey.
didn't come together and learn how to work until December. So
Wow.
we had like 3 weeks, 4 weeks to sort of work on that content. They did learn some content pieces before that, but we really had that. And then I think it was December again with a team, and I had a guest coach with me, and it was just shocking. They did their presentation. My guest coach was a finance guy. I know enough about finance to sort of
Yeah.
help them a little bit with it, but it's not my major area. But we both
No,
sat
me
there with
neither.
our mouths sort of like in awe in terms of, you don't know a freaking thing about finance for a nonprofit. And it's sort of
Oh,
like,
yeah.
how do we turn that around? And I think we had 5 days because I think it was
Oh my God.
the last mock comp before the competition. And it was just, as I say.
Wow.
And so
I I literally have started saying, I'm not your finance girl. I'm the out of the box thinker. So save your finance because there's so many advisors that are financial this, financial that. I was like, just save all those questions for that one,
Yeah.
okay?
And
Because
then,
I am not your girl.
yeah, one of the last competitions I coached at the MBA, I actually had a coach as a finance guy. So that really helped. And so I was able to
Nice.
go to talk to Stephen about
Yeah.
this, right? I can
Oh,
help you
yeah.
with the other stuff, right? So I think
Amazing.
those were sort of the key things. I think the other thing in terms of what I wanted to really sort of get to a little bit is during that advising session, right? Where we're advising
Yeah.
students on these entrepreneurial projects. And in the past, a few of them have gone ahead and they've been really successful. Actually, one of
Yeah.
them was a girl that I had on a number of my case teams. It took me a while to convince her that she was talented enough to be on that case team for the first time
Yeah. That's
around.
amazing.
But she was amazing, amazing girl in terms of it. But I guess my question to you, and it's more sort of advice to students, and we'll eventually get to the what advice would you give to sort of the 20-year-old Tash. But
Oh, yeah.
what valuable insights are you gaining about when they're doing this? What do the students need to consider more when they're putting together that picture? They're thinking about the ideation piece of those projects.
Well, I think you and I definitely both know these answers. They need to speak slower. They need to, is that what you mean? Like the technical aspect?
Some,
Like
yeah, technical, or just what do they need to think about a little bit
they
more
just,
as they're
they need to become a team. Like they're, again, it goes back to something I said earlier is it's like they're not interested or maybe they're scared to show hey, Wesley. Oh, wow. Okay. Please. Remember when you were like, yeah, it's just like having a conversation. Absolutely. The kitty's trying to eat the dog's food and he's having no part of it. And usually he's terrified of the cat. Like, this is ridiculous. Okay. Take a relaxer. But I think it goes back to really becoming a team, being interested. Well, even the topic they picked, because if you don't know, they all have a topic and then it has to be brought down to one person. They have to pick one person's topic and then they build this whole presentation. And that's what Cam and I are advising on. Although you've done like a million, all that. But I think for me, it's just interested in each other. I don't know if they're scared to ask questions because we're on there or what it is, but it's okay if we say it wrong. Like sometimes that happens on my training. It's like, no question is stupid. But yeah, stuff like that. And also, a lot of them think they have it in the bag. They're like, yeah. So I'm going to expand it. And it's like, whoa, start small, nail it. So it's like dream big, start small. But nail it with one section of the university, then because a lot of them are university. It's funny because a lot of them are university kids and they only think about stuff at the university. And what really blows me away is when they think of something outside of that, where they could help. There was one we had this week where they could help people with ankle
yeah.
injuries, like seniors with ankle, like stuff like that, that they start to think outside. That really impresses me. Yeah, and just their willingness to all talk. Like one person does a presentation and then everyone else unmute. Like we have a conversation. So I think that's really important. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think
Yeah, it's
that,
just the
that's a
interaction.
yeah, no, I think that's a key thing. And I think you mentioned that. And one of the things, and I really noticed this when I was coaching millennials always created solution for other millennials, even
Yeah.
when the solution probably should be aimed at a different generation. One of them I remember
Yeah.
blatantly was we did a case on Sony. And
Really?
yeah, and it was they really sort of just focused on sort of this millennials as their target market and totally forgot about the fact that you got boomers out there that have
My
65 to
God.
75% of the disposable income in the world,
Yeah.
right? How do
Like the
you bring those
boomers
people
are,
in it? Right. And just sort of thinking about that. And as I say, I sit there at competitions during this stage of my thing. And
yeah.
I sort of look at it in terms of finally a team that didn't talk just about millennials. They considered other target markets. I think
Yeah.
with Gen Z and Gen Alpha or whatever we're in now, they're much
I
better
don't
at
even
sort
know.
of thinking around that. But again,
Yeah.
I've been doing the advising, I think Houston invited me to do their first videos 12 years ago. Right. And so many
Wow.
of them that I've seen are, yeah, we're going to target this to our university population. How do we start to
Yeah.
think outside of that? How do we think about the people that are different than you? Right.
Well,
And
that's the whole
make
thing
those
is thinking,
connections.
yeah, thinking outside the box. Also, what I would love to see is why, again, it goes back to their story. Why did you all decide on this one thing? The person that thought of this, tell me more. Like, why are you passionate? First of all, are you passionate about it? Like, or am I just doing the school project? Because we can see the difference when they're actually passionate about it and they want to help for the greater good, right? That's a big thing. Yeah. And I just think really a lot of times I end up going back to teamwork, and it's almost like, because I don't know, maybe because of the pandemic, maybe they were our only kids, like they don't know. And again, I'm generalizing, but it's like they might not have interact, like maybe in high school they didn't do group projects, so all of a sudden you're in university, it's all different and you're doing a group project. Like I feel like we
Yeah.
should know how to interact as a team, but that's important for your whole life.
Yeah.
For
No.
your
And
whole life you need to know how,
yeah, and I
right?
think I've discussed this with the past couple of guests. People listening to the podcast will get a lot of this in January and February,
Yeah.
because I think that's been a pretty common theme in
Yeah.
the last few people I've talked with. But
Right.
I think that's a big part of it. And I think one of the things we have is a, a post secondary system, maybe a little less in business, but I think it's across just working with students from different faculties, et cetera, and sort of seeing that. I think that's one of the things is I think there's a lot of delivery of information. And
Yeah.
in my view,
Yeah.
information doesn't get turned into knowledge until you add skills to that. And
Right.
what we're
Exactly.
missing a lot of is teaching students the skills they need to take the information they're gaining in class, whether it be sort of traditional information things or
Yeah.
brand new current research things. How do we critically think about that so that we can apply it? And I think when I look at the projects that I've seen in NT courses over the years, there's so many really good ideas.
Yeah.
And
There's
I
so
think,
many.
yeah, and I
So
think
many.
even if some of those go, that
Yeah.
helps a lot in terms of the productivity problems we're having in Canada, in terms of just we're not
Yeah.
getting sort of the entrepreneurs creating businesses enough in this country. And
Yeah.
so create some of the economic pieces of it. So how do we get our students to get those other pieces so they can take these great ideas they have and turn them
Yeah.
into something that, yeah, it might be a side hustle, but who knows?
Yeah.
It may be something that you turn into the next greatest thing, right?
Yeah.
And
Like the
start thinking
CFL
about that.
one
Yeah,
blew me away,
that
which
was,
I think we signed. We can't really talk about them, but that one was insane. I was like, let's go right now. I was ready to be like, I'll meet you tomorrow. We're doing this. We're
yeah,
doing this. Like it was unbelievable, but, and that's where you go back. And that was an example also because they were so energetic on the camera, like when they were talking on the camera and then in person, which by the way, I brought up, they were dead silent. No one, I was like, I don't even feel like you're the same people that did the video because they were laughing and giggling and then everyone was dead. And I'm like,
yeah, yeah. No,
so
and I think
show
that
up
those are key things.
online like you do in person.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a huge piece of it, right? And how do we start to get that happening more and more? And I think that's sort of one of the things. And I know when COVID happened, my team struggled with the online
Yeah.
environment, right?
Yeah.
Just sort of starting to learn how to be who they are online because they were
Yeah.
really good at being themselves in
100%.
person, right? So
Yeah.
kind of the opposite problem
Yeah.
that we're seeing nowadays. But how do we get that to happen? I think is a key thing. And thinking about how do we have that online presence, that in person presence, and there's not a lot of difference between it. And thinking
There's,
about
yeah, to me, there's no difference.
yeah,
Like you're right here. So apparently the animals
I
are
love
too,
to
but like you're here or I'm there. And it's no different than, if anything, it's amazing because I don't have to like come to the university and try and find parking or, like I freaking love this so much. And so maybe that's the next thing is I need to go in and facilitate workshops with all these classes of like teamwork. Okay, how do we learn to like become a team and facilitate freaking play around with them.
Yeah.
Get
No.
them talking more
Yeah. And I
and
think that's
feel
huge.
things. Feel things.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, one of the things, and as I say, I think one of the things I do with my teams, and I tell my students to do this because there's group projects in all my courses, right?
Yeah. Well, of course.
The
Yeah.
first thing they need to do is go out and it's actually an assignment. They just have to tell me what they do, and they get
Oh
marks.
my
So
God, I'm so excited. I know what you're going to say, and I love this so much.
it's giveaway marks. You just have to go out and do something together so you get to know each other,
Right?
right? When I do
Oh my God. See?
intensive course week, it's hard to do because we keep switching teams, etc. But I've got an icebreaker in that I've designed to hopefully break that ice, so they get to
Yeah.
introduce themselves a little bit, and they get hopefully a little bit comfortable because I give them a random word that they need to talk about for 30 seconds.
So, Cam, I guess the question is everything that you do that's out of the ordinary or that is outside the box thinking, is everybody else doing that too? Because that's the thing. That's what. So, you need to write a book or you need to do workshops with all the profs. And because what happens is we get so schoolish, which, by the way, as I said before we started, I did one party term of university in Lennoxville, Quebec in 1989. And then I went to Chateau Lake Louise and worked and traveled the world. And that was my school of life. But what happens is we get so school that we forget all the little isms like go out, everybody go out, go do something. I want a picture of it. And that is your first, like, that's amazing because they have to decide where they're going to go. What are we going to do? What are we going to talk about? Like, it's perfect.
Yeah, and I think actually what my next move is we need an escape rooms on every campus.
Okay, well,
And
I've never done one of those,
but
but
it's a fantastic experience that builds some
yeah,
of that teamwork. And
yeah, yeah,
so many of my teams, that's one of the first things they do, and they if they're a team for a length of time, they'll go and do
yeah.
a few escape rooms, right? But I don't
Well, not
care.
only,
Even go out to
yeah,
the bar early on, right?
yeah.
That just do something together. I've had
But
teams go
see,
out and snow.
that's the part we're missing. I believe that's the part we're missing. And I believe there's some instructors that are like, I'm like, Justin is freaking, I love that guy. Like every time I see he's done, I'm like, you are unreal. Like obviously some people are maybe doing some of these isms, but I feel like that's the stuff that really sticks. Like you talked about the girl that went to IBM, and it's like what made her different was again, you're passionate. So it's like, how do we fire these kids? And I say they're kids, like my stepkids are 35 and 38, and I still call them my kids. But how do you fire them up so they're lit up about whatever it is, whatever their project's going to be, they're excited about it. Even if they've never thought about cross country skiing and we're going to make new tracks out here on the golf courses in the winter, whatever it is, right?
Yeah, no, and I think that's a key thing.
Fire them
Is
up.
yeah, how do we
We got to
get
fire
that?
up the kids.
Yeah, because as I say, so many of them, they come to class, they take some notes on potentially what
Yeah.
you've talked about in class.
Yeah.
They try to memorize it. They regurgitate it on an exam at some point in time, and then they
Yeah.
totally forget about it because when you talk to them about that same subject in a later class, no one remembers
Gone.
anything
Yeah.
about that, right?
Well, because you need something to stick. It's like you have to spark some interest to get them to remember
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah,
I'm in.
yeah,
Okay, how are we gonna do this? Is that the
yeah,
next podcast?
yeah.
We're gonna make an action plan. Cam's like, I've been doing this for 25 years. Tashi, you go ahead.
No, but that's part of, as I say, that's the part that I had fun with, right?
But
That's
that's the
what I
part that
want to do.
made you what's the word that they call you? Because
The
I had to chat.
the emeritus title thing.
I was like, what does that mean? And it literally, I had to go to ChatGPT. And that's exactly what you are, is they're your all-star. They're your gold standard. And
Yeah,
it's because of all the things that you do. So there should be like projects done on how did you facilitate all those years? What you need to do all the takeaways for
yeah.
everyone else.
And that's part of what the podcast is about. That I'm going to actually
Yeah.
start in January probably. I've got a few of them sort of scripted at the moment. We'll see where they
Yeah.
go. And
Yeah.
I've been kind of thinking about a name for this, but sort of 2-minute videos on
Isms. Like they're your
Yeah.
camisms.
Yeah. And
If
I
you're a
think,
university prof, if you're this, okay, here's one thing I did with my class that was unique, blah, blah, blah. Give it a try. Let me know how it goes.
yeah. Yeah. And so it's this sort of mad
Yeah.
skills thing. And I think I was
Yeah, I
kind
love
of
it.
working with some different things, but it's all about mad skills discovery, right? And how do we
Yeah.
go about doing this, right? So I think those
But
are the
really,
big
the
things.
mad skills are not that mad.
No, they aren't.
They're just, they're unique. Like it's like get everyone to listen to the Wear Sunscreen song and write down your favorite part of the song and why. Do you know the song I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah, the valedictorian speech from freaking 1999. It's so good.
yeah,
That's part of my course too.
yeah.
To get to know people. It's an icebreaker.
Yeah. No, and I think those are key things, right? In terms of how do we get this happening more often? It doesn't happen.
Yeah,
Like there are exceptional instructors at Haskell, and they do
absolutely.
amazing things with their students,
Yeah,
right? And I don't think without them, I couldn't take a business school that when I was taking teams internationally that's probably ranked in sort of the 150 to 200
yeah,
in most of the rankings that are out there worldwide. And we'd show up in wherever. My favorite was Rotterdam often. And
nice.
we're sitting there with here's the top or most of the top 10 of the business school rankings in the world. And guess who's winning the competition? It's
You guys.
us,
You
right? Us
all.
us
Yeah,
lowly ranked people down here. And
yeah, yeah,
so a lot of our instructors are doing amazing things with this, but
yeah,
we need to carry that throughout the whole of the population of all the business schools. We
yeah,
need to carry that through into
yeah,
all of the other faculty. And
yeah,
that's to create sort of these amazing people coming out that will do
yeah,
amazing things,
yeah.
especially given where a lot of the economic challenges and those types of things are happening in the country right
Well, it goes back to adversity and resilient adults, and you've got to be able to push through. You've got to
now.
find a different way.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I think that is the biggest thing for sure. Like the biggest thing. Yeah. And the one thing I will say also is it is so impressive that Calgary has or U of C has this entrepreneurial program because I have not heard of any other, and maybe there are other universities that have it, but that's unbelievable because I'm the solopreneur. I'm out here on my own. Yay. Sometimes crying at Starbucks. Who knows? Right? Like every day is not golden, but I'm out doing it on my own. But to be able to sit and be a part of these kids that are up and coming, especially the ones that aren't business majors that just want to take this course, it blows my mind that they signed up and they're interested and we're getting the word out about entrepreneurs and small businesses and what you can create. Like that's
yeah.
the most amazing thing to
Yeah,
me.
no, and I think they're learning a lot of an incredible skill set that's going to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
incredibly valuable to them as they move into careers, etc. Be it
Yeah.
as
Whether you want to be an
entrepreneurs,
entrepreneur or not,
not. Yeah,
right?
they're gonna
Everything
they're
works.
gonna change the companies that they're in. They're the ones that are
Yes.
gonna wind up
Yeah.
moving up the ladder and change that
Yeah.
company, right? And
Yeah.
so, how do we get more of that happening? I think is the big thing, and I think that's sort of where my passion comes from in terms of
Yeah.
yeah, this is why I spent, as my wife used to say, COVID was a total shock to her because I would disappear December 31st or January 1st. I'd be home Monday afternoons and then I'd be gone somewhere. And then
That's amazing.
COVID showed up and I was home all the time.
Did you
This,
miss me?
yeah,
You're like, oh my God, your wife's probably like, go.
that's about it. Yeah. And so that would happen until the end of April or something like that. So,
Yeah.
and it was just like, and then COVID struck and it was just like, what are you doing home type of thing? Because
Did
it
you go
wasn't,
back out after COVID? Did you keep
yeah,
going out or did you
yeah,
retire then? Or you
no,
went back
yeah,
out
yeah. We
with the
kept going out
teams?
after COVID a
Yeah.
little bit less because there were some of the competitions were impacted by COVID.
Right.
But generally, yeah, most of my winter session was teaching Monday afternoons in Calgary and then on the road somewhere else,
Wow.
wherever.
So
And
who
then,
took over that now? Who's
no,
representing Haskell now?
they're struggling with that at the moment. Although there's a new fund for experiential learning that just got put in place, so I think
Yeah.
that's happening. And I think they're going to have to figure that out because as I told them in the last couple of years of my career as a prof, was if you look at the coaches, they've all got gray hair and they're
Yeah.
retiring, right? Dr. Bob, though, is
Yeah.
going to
Like
be
you,
there
yeah.
forever, but
Yeah.
everybody else is retired, right? So we're losing a lot. And so I think that's something they need to think about. And I think a lot of schools need to think about that because when I'm on the road, there's an awful lot of gray hair
Yeah.
in the faculty members that are at those competitions. And
So they need to
um,
be mentoring and
yeah,
bringing on the young ones.
that
Yeah.
hasn't happened a lot. And there's so many discussions in the last few years on the road that I'm talking to other faculty members that, yeah, they're retiring. So we had lots of retirement type of talks with schools from across the world. The couple of them I remember the most was Vermont.
Yeah.
And because I was really close to her, I was close to the advisor that was at the U.S. Naval Academy for their ethics teams.
Wow.
Retiring, I'm not sure if he's retired yet because I didn't make it to Tucson this year to see
Yeah.
anybody because my daughter got married at
Nice.
about that time. But as I say, a lot of those people are, yeah, that's what this discussion
So
is
who's going to
about.
take that over?
I don't know,
Cam?
but we'll
I don't
figure
know,
that
Cam. It
out.
looks like you have a lot to work to do, even though it's like, well, you retired, but you're going to have to mentor someone into that role, and we got to
Yeah.
get the teams out there rolling again.
Yeah. No, and I think, and there's a team that's trying to find some funding to go to NGCOM, and I told them that I'm more than willing
Nice.
to mentor them. I
Yeah.
probably won't go to Montreal with them, but I'm here to help them if they get the funding in
Because we
place.
can hop on online.
Yeah, because we can hop
Yeah.
on online.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
Montreal in the winter is not the nicest place.
I know I'm going on the 18th. My
Yeah.
sister lives in Montreal, so I end up going down there a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm going in 2 weeks.
Yeah. My favorite thing with Montreal was
Freezing.
I made, I think, 23 trips to Montreal in the last 10 years or something like that.
Oh my God.
Only once did I have a plane that was on time leaving Montreal. My wife, I would sort of tell my wife, this is when I'm supposed to be arriving on Sunday night. And she's like, yeah, you're
Yeah.
coming from Montreal. That's never going to happen.
Ever.
The
Yeah. I
last,
know.
and they emphasized it on my last trip that I did as a team from Montreal. My flight actually got canceled.
Oh God, it's the worst, right? You're
I
like,
was in the airport and
ugh.
it was just an absolute mess. I did come home the next morning. I went up to the Air Canada counter and asked them, when's your earliest flight to Calgary and when's your earliest flight to Montreal? Because it was JDC West weekend in Montreal, in Edmonton that week. And what's the weather like in both places? And it was that
Oh my
minus
God.
40, minus 50 weather we had that a couple of Januaries ago.
Yep.
And
Oh yeah.
and then I sort of like, let me rethink that. When's your earliest flight to Calgary? When I think about what I had in my suitcase, I don't have enough clothing in my suitcase to survive Edmonton at minus 50. And
You
I
know
can
what
do
I
this
would always do
online.
is go to Winners. I would go shopping. I was like, I
Yeah.
need more. I literally would just shop at
Yeah.
Winners and all the time.
Yeah. So I came
Never had
back.
enough
I
clothing.
came back to Calgary. We landed in Calgary, and the jet bridge was frozen to the ground. So we're stuck on the airplane for an extra 45 minutes as they tried to
Oh
figure
my
out how
God.
to. And then I get wheelchair assistance at the airport. And we were having a discussion with the person pushing me. And she was saying, yeah, that was the 7th plane that morning that had had a problem with the jet bridge getting stuck that she knew about.
Man.
Yeah.
Wow. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. No, it was so cold.
See,
And
another reason why online is
yeah,
amazing because they can all be in Montreal freezing their butts off, and you're
yeah,
here and you're advising. You're like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. That's about it.
boom.
Yeah. So I'm going to try to wrap this up. And the last question I always ask my guests is, what's advice do you give to yourself?
I think that one's so tough. Is believe you can do anything. I think with my ADHD, which by the way, I didn't know about until I was in my 30s and I watched Oprah and it was on ADD and I was like, oh my God, I have that. But I knew like yeah, I would say that I was capable of doing that. I thought because, you know what I actually thought? Because I didn't have a university degree, I wasn't qualified to do anything. So I waitressed for years, I bartended, da da da. And it turns out I could write a book on everything I learned from serving tables and bartending because everything comes back to customer service. So now I've worked with 85-ish boutique spin studios. What's the most pivotal thing? Customer service.
Yeah,
When you walk in the door. Like,
yeah.
that's it.
I think I come from the same thing. The first 10 years of my career was in sales. I was
Yeah.
sales in the ski and bike industry, and it was
Nice.
all
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
customer service. And I think that's something that's always, and I think probably has influenced me
Everything.
a ton in terms of how I've worked with students, etc.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah,
And literally, who knew how valuable that was in boutique fitness? But absolutely, it's everything. If you walk in the door and you don't feel comfortable, you don't feel like you've welcomed. I'm not even going into the class, so forget going in to do our spin program in the spin room. Not a chance. They're out the door, which I would be too. So it goes back to again, it's not just about the bike. There's so much more involved. And we do that again in our training. It's customer service, open-ended questions to get the customers to love you. Because if they like you, they'll leave you. If they love you, they'll stay.
yeah. And even the first incantation of Treads Softly, which is our company, we did mountain bike and fly fishing, and we used to do
Yeah.
we did elder hostel programs. Forget what it's changed the name now, but
Yeah.
we would do these. And the first day was with fly fishing was casting instruction for those that needed it. And we
Yeah.
got comments from people that had gone to these incredibly expensive clinics, mostly in Pennsylvania,
Wow.
but they've gone to these and commented on, yeah, this what we did that morning was so much better, and the service and just the individual attention was
Yeah.
incredible. And I think,
Well, and also it's back to basics. That's
yeah,
another thing I really love is back to basics. Like you're out there, hey everyone, we're going to do a workshop this morning on just like casting the reel. Wow, right? Already added value, right?
yeah, no, and I think those are the
Love it.
big things. And my favorite story though is we always, as I say, we got a lot of people from the East Coast. And the East Coast, I guess you show up for fly fishing at 6 a.m. or earlier because you have to find your spot on the river first. And
Oh yeah.
I guess the fish are awake, and so they would arrive out to our mountain streams, and we would tell, and they would ask, "Why aren't we out there at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m.?" And our response was, "It's too cold, and the fish don't like it."
Yeah, exactly.
And
Which by the
so,
way, I'm
but
from Nova Scotia,
yeah,
so I know I lived along a river
yeah.
road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we would tell, yeah, if you want to go out, here's some spots close to where we're staying, and you can go out, but you have to be back by about 8:30 or 9 o'clock because that's when we'll actually head out to the mountain streams. And so some of them would go
Nice.
out the first day and discover that, yeah, nothing's happened. The fish are asleep.
Yeah. Go
And
have breakfast,
yeah,
relax.
yeah. And so we told them, yeah, about 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, the sun is up and warms up the top of the water, and cutthroat trout really like that. And so they start to become active, and you start to be able to catch fish. It was kind of
So
a,
isn't that the funniest thing? It's
yeah,
like the simplest thing,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And
But you're
then
going against the early bird gets the worm. Well, I guess although it's the early fish are asleep, you don't need to go so early. They're sleeping. Yeah.
what we did was we also would take them out after dinner because some of the best fishing in southern Alberta is the darker it gets, the better.
Wow.
And so we would take them out
Amazing.
after dinner and sort of do the after dinner stuff. And yeah, everybody caught fish on the Crow's Nest River after dinner at that
Nice.
point.
That's amazing. Wow. Such a full life, hey? You've had such a, which you have tons of room to go, but it's awesome. Like Cam, you're amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. No, and I think that's sort of the spirit that you brought when I think the first time we met virtually was that spirit really sort of brought those pieces. And I think that it's an
Yeah,
incredible
well, you
thing.
have to love it. Like for me, I love mentoring entrepreneurs or the future entrepreneurs. And the best part is I'm mentoring people at U of C when I have no degree. And that's my favorite thing. That's the first thing I announce. I'm like, because everyone's like, I'm a graduate. I'm this. I'm like, not me. And they keep letting me in. They keep letting me in.
Thank you
This was
for
fun.
the wonderful conversation.
Everyone, thanks for listening. Let us know what you liked.